Roll call, Jim.
Mr. Earhart.
Here.
Tammy Blank.
Here.
Linda Britt.
Here.
Juliet Marquis Kukrow.
Present.
Mr. Harley.
Here.
Mr. Carp.
Present.
Dr. Rig.
Here.
Dr. Schaefer.
Here.
Mr. Shrug.
Here. Good evening, everyone, and thank you all for coming this evening. Again, I would like to thank all of the school board candidates that ran for the primary and congratulate those who were successful. Do we have any public comment this evening?
No, sir.
No public comment. IAEA asked me for Stuka. Do you have any comments? Tell us how the prom went.
I do, yes. Prom and Grand March were held on Saturday, May 13th aboard the Gateway Clipper Fleet's Empress in Pittsburgh. SJ enjoyed hosting 320 students for the prom with beautiful weather. By the time the Grand March concluded, that lasted into the evening aboard the Empress. SGA members will be participating in its annual highway cleanup along East Pike this Saturday. In addition to SGA events, there are other IHS events that I would like to highlight. 28 students traveled to Penn State University for the Pennsylvania Junior Academy of Science, or PJAS, state-level competition. Students competed in multiple categories, including physics, engineering, computer science, chemistry, and biological and social sciences. Following students earned first-place awards in various categories: Lily Adams, Vanya Ali, Jen Ball, Kylie Brandon, Hannah Coburn, Gabe Kenning, Lizzie Kinnear, Olivia Crimmin, Samantha Lawson, Jack Lehman, Sanderson Lynn, Belinda Lin Shu, Eva Nealon, Emma Runge, Julia Runge, Leanne Stevens, Ronald Wang, Alexa Wheeler, and Audrey Yang. Sanderson Lynn and Kylie Brandon earned perfect scores. The following students earned second-place awards: Alexandra Brown, Adria Edmonds, Sonia Gregova, Emma Grimm, Christian Jabulahua, Kevin Liu, Kate Mill, Sophia Runge, and Isabella Yuha. Olivia Crimmin received the Zappa Award, which is $125 given to two students who showed outstanding work in the field of physics, math, engineering, or computer science. The spring play was held on Friday, May 5th and Saturday, May 6th. The play was The Nitwits and was directed by Mrs. Lyons. The inaugural Student of the Month banquet was held on Monday, May 8th at the Kowalczyk Center. Indiana's finalist for a new car from Colonial Motors was Warren Epper. The school district's teacher finalist was Mr. Sean Moran. The spring band concert held, conducted by Mr. O'Lear is being held this evening. The chorus and orchestra concert was held last Tuesday and was directed by Mrs. Thompson. Librarian Mr. Perkovich continues to organize lunch and learn events. May has been busy with testing at the senior high. The administration of Keystone exams concluded today with Keystone Algebra. Makeup exams will be held for the remainder of the week. Final exams for IHS classes begin tomorrow and last through Thursday. The National Honors Society induction ceremony will be held this Friday at 7 p.m. in the Senior High Auditorium. The second annual Move Up Day will be held on Wednesday, May 31st. Move Up Day provides 8th graders the chance to come to IHS, take a tour of the school, get to have lunch with upperclassmen, and participate in a pep rally. This day is coordinated by Athena Club ambassadors and SGA. This is a busy time of the year for our seniors. A senior class trip to Cedar Point occurred on Friday, May 19th. ICTC graduation will be held this Thursday at 6:30 p.m. at the Indiana Junior High Auditorium, and IHS graduation will be held on Friday, June 2nd at 7 p.m. at the Kowalczyk Center.
You did that without taking a breath. Very good. Okay, down to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Schroeder. First, before we get started, there are a couple of new faces at the table. I just want to make sure that everybody knows who everyone is. Obviously, you know Justin. He's been with us for many years, but he moved into a new role. And his replacement is Ms. Tara Maruka. And she's been with us a couple of weeks, and she's doing an outstanding job, and we're really excited that she's here. So,
Very good.
I just want to mention a couple things going on. Our schools are finishing up the final APTT nights. That's academic parent-teacher teams, for those of us who hate acronyms. They're focused on the step up and the move up as well. I got to visit East Pikes and Ben Franklin's last week. They did a fantastic job. The East Pike team did turned the whole hallway into an undersea adventure, and I had a dance party. The police were there with the dog. It was a great community event over at Ben Franklin. They had little students signing their letters of intent to take their talents to Ben Franklin in the fall as new kindergartners. It was pretty cool. So they both did a fantastic job. I didn't get a chance to make it to Horace Mann or Ike, but tomorrow night's a junior high, and the night after that is the senior high as far as the parent engagement night. So I'm looking forward to that. We're getting ready for our summer camp to launch on June 7th. I'm sorry, to run from June 7th to July 13th. It's the third year of the program. It's pretty robust. We have a reading instruction or development or enrichment, depending on what your student needs. The same in math. So students that get involved, they have an hour of reading, an hour of math, an hour of fun built in there. They get breakfast and lunch, and then they have some fun activities in the afternoon. We have a new partnership this year with the 21st Century Learning Center, which is being run through the Aaron IU. And they're going to bring some added value to that partnership as well. And we've been working with them to take this to the next step. So I do want to say that we are 290 registrants so far, and registration ends this Friday. So if any families out there are still interested in registering, we encourage you to register this week if you can, so we know what to prepare for. Summer school also, registration is currently open for summer school, both credit advancement and credit recovery. Those are taking place right now, so if families need to get registered for those, please contact your counselor directly. I attended my first Armstrong, Indiana Career Pathways Partnership Executive Committee. What this is a group of community leaders from the two counties that are invested in creating career education opportunities and to stimulate the economy here. So we train our students here. Let's try to keep them here and build our economy and work together to make sure that happens as frequently as possible. We adopted a new logo, and we're taking steps to make some real meaningful work here in the near future. I also attended advocacy today this morning with Mrs. Broad. Thank you for attending with me. Where Senator Pittman and the county commissioners were kind enough to sit down and take all of the arrows we were shooting at them. The conversation, we discussed the teacher shortage. We discussed some of the economic woes with the Homer Center plant shutting down. But the bulk of the talk focused on school funding and specifically cyber charter reform. I hate to beat this horse to death, sir, but cyber schools there's $8.8 million of taxpayer money in the Aaron IU that are going to cyber schools each year. And if they were going and getting a great return on that investment, I would applaud them. It's not the case. And I do want to make the difference between charter schools and cyber charter schools. Some charter schools in some of the big cities do great work, and they have great results. Most of the cyber schools, in fact, all of the cyber schools consistently score at the bottom of the pile of schools in the state year after year. But our tax money, they get the same allocation that we get per student. It comes into Indiana and goes right out to 9 different cyber schools that operate in our area that are not housed here. They come out of Philadelphia, they come out of Harrisburg, and they are these monster for-profit agencies that pay their executives $790,000 a year and don't produce the same results. They also charge for overhead that's not there. I mean, these kids they get a Chromebook. There's a kid in a Chromebook at home in their bedroom, and we're allocating the same amount of tax revenue to provide for that Chromebook and a teacher on the other end as we are for the buildings and the lighting and the heating and the security and everything else that goes into educating our children. On top of that, they get title funding. Those cyber charter schools get extra funding directly from the state to provide for students with low socioeconomic status. So, not only do they get our tax money, but then they get the tax money directly from the state. It's a broken system. It's causing hardships in every one of the districts in our area. And that's where the bulk of the conversation was centered. I don't know if you think I missed anything.
And they're not responsible for taking care of truancy issues.
Correct.
It bounces back to the districts in a very not timely fashion. And I don't know if it's been verified or not, but there was talk that their teachers, only 75% of their teachers are required to be certified. Well, 100% of our teachers have to have PA certifications. So it's a bad situation.
It is a bad situation. And Senator Pittman, to his credit, I mean, definitely seemed like some attention was going to be given to this, and he was going to go back to Harrisburg and advocate for the schools here. So we're at least hopeful that there could be some reform coming. Just a couple more announcements. The academic awards for the senior hire tomorrow night, Ms. Burdick, is that correct? Tomorrow night at what time?
6:30.
6:30 p.m. if anyone would like to attend. On Thursday evening, also, I believe is it 6 p.m. for the ICTC graduation?
I
Have
think
six on my
it's 6:30.
Is it 6:30 also? ICTC graduation will be held at our junior high this Thursday. You should have gotten an invite from the ICTC. You also should have gotten an invite from Anise. So if you can attend, please do so. And then our own graduation ceremony is next Friday, June 2nd at the KCAC Center. So
You want us there at what time? We're supposed to be there.
I have 5 on my calendar, but I may have put it early so I wasn't late.
Oh,
Mr. Birdie, you have any idea what time you'd like the board members in?
You put me on the spot for that one.
How about I'll send you an email tomorrow what time?
Usually if you're there by 6:30 or so, because the ceremony starts at 7.
yeah, that's what I thought it was.
And again, we're gonna do like we did last year. Everybody will get a chance to hand out a proportionate number of diplomas. Terry and Cindy, I guess you're not gonna be able to make it, is that correct? Okay, but everybody else is gonna be able to make it?
I don't know yet. I have a nephew who's graduating high school, and I might have to be down in Pittsburgh for that.
Okay, please make sure that Anise knows as soon as you can, especially if you're not gonna be able to make it, otherwise we'll see you all graduation Friday night. Before we go on to the solicitor's report, I do wanna make one comment on Rob's, he's kind of said it in passing. The one administrator for one of the cyber charter schools, PA Cyber, has an annual salary of $790,000. Okay, for that same amount of money, I could pay for the entire principal staff in this district or the entire central main office staff. And they've got one guy making that kind of money. That's the financial problem in very stark local terms that we're really struggling with. Thank you.
Yes, sir. And it's our money. It's the taxpayers.
Could I ask one more? The other thing that I see is when those students are failing, they come back into our school
Yes,
system.
sir.
Could you explain what we have to do to bring them up to speed? What
Oh,
it costs us?
it's a challenge. For sure. They come in oftentimes, first of all, many of them go, and there are exceptions. There are travel hockey players that go and do very well in the cyber school, but those are the exceptions. The rule is that they run from some problem here, either discipline problems or oftentimes attendance problems. So they go to the cyber school where there's looser rules about attendance, there's less oversight, and they flounder there some more. So now we have a longer period of time without real educational value being added. And then the cyber school finally has to be accountable. They kick them back to the school district. Now they are a year and a half, 2 years behind, and our staff has to pick up the pieces. It requires severe reading intervention. Oftentimes, they're now identified with special needs, because if they're identified with special needs, the price goes up that the taxpayers pay at cyber. So oftentimes they'll leave without an IEP and come back with one. And now we have to allocate even more resources to try to catch that student up. And it's an uphill battle, sir. It's, there's significant long-term, lifelong impacts that kind of situation has. It's not right. And we're going to keep advocating to get the reform, because not only is it hurting our bottom line, but it's hurting kids.
And also, it's the local taxpayers.
Yes, ma'am.
When we levy a real estate tax, it's the local taxpayers that are paying the cyber school tuition.
100%.
Yeah, so it's coming, and regardless of your tax-based status, that's the way it is. And we don't know a lot about what they do. Their financial numbers are
They
not
get to-
adequately disclosed.
They get to advertise as free education.
Yeah.
So it's not
But
free.
it's not
It's
free.
coming out of our pockets and it's, and they get to use our tax money to advertise that it's free on television.
This year, we're estimated to pay them, the charter schools, 1.6 million. Talking about a shortfall that we have in the district. Yeah, come pay for our school district, please.
And that's up from about 8 million, maybe 7 million before the pandemic.
Yeah,
So it's almost a doubling.
800,000.
yeah.
800,000.
Right?
Or an equals
Decimal point error.
It's a quick, on any mathematical scale, that's called an escalation of costs, and that's what we've suffered.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Ron, Solicitor's Report.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't believe I was here last time to talk about the Joel Altria settlement. It came out in May 10th. So we did get a part of that a part of that litigation. As you know, there was 4 defendants. We settled with Joel and got a few funds because of that. They went through a weeks-long trial in California. And Friday, when they were supposed to have or render a decision, they settled for $235 million. So again, we're not getting that just to slow, but there's thousands of districts who were kind of part of this that we're going to look to see how that's allocated, how that affects, how that settlement may affect the litigation that we're involved in right now. So again, I'll have more information I'll bring back to the board, but just to let you know, it is done. We don't have to wait on that decision, and we're just going to see what happens with the allocation from there. So again, I think it was a good decision for this board to get involved. Didn't cost anything, didn't cost the taxpayers anything, and hopefully we'll see some fruition come to us in the money damages, education, things of that nature. So that's all, Mr. President. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we do have some presentations this evening. I think, Rob, you're up.
Oh, yes, sir. As they mentioned earlier, the Excellence in Education Award ceremony took place earlier this month. You all attended, I think. It was a very nice event. I want to again thank the Spatafor family for making that a possibility and the Chamber of Commerce for putting together such a lovely evening. It really is nice to take a minute to really celebrate some of the work that goes on here. Not only the work last time we were here, we've celebrated the teachers that were recognized tonight. We wanted to celebrate the students. Each month, we were able to nominate a student for the Excellence in Education Award. And then they went into a finalist pool just like the teachers did. And we got to put one forward. This recognition is to celebrate students that are exemplary models of Indiana County's youth in their educational pursuits, their school and community engagement, essential workforce skills, and personal growth. And so these are just outstanding students that could have been nominated by their teacher, a staff member, a principal. Other students could have nominated them. And we, like I said, we had a lot of nominations, and each month the committee got to pick one person and put them forward. So we extended the invitation to all of them tonight to be here, but because they are very, very involved people, Gabe came. So, Mr. Burdick, if you would do the honors and present Gabe with his certificate.
Thank you, Mr. Heinrich. It's my honor to present the Student of the Month certificate to Gabe Kenny.
Sorry. No. I don't know if Gabe, I don't know if you want to say anything about the situation, about the program.
Okay.
Hold on one second. Let me give you the microphone so the folks at home can hear you. Sorry to put you on the spot.
Thank you very much. Let's see. It's an honor, so thank you very much to whoever nominated me and to the people who voted me on. It's been a tough year. So, future plans. I'm going to Northwestern University.
Northwestern.
Right now, I'm just saying physics, but
Just physics in Northwestern.
Just physics. Everything's physics.
we'll see. But yeah.
Thank you, Gabe.
Yeah, we're proud of you. I would like to recognize the other nominees, Dylan McLaurin, Liam McAnulty, Ryan Schaefer, Kyle Zhang, Sophie Runge, Lee Rosenberger, and our Student of the Year nominee that went and that was actually eligible for the car was Mara Nepper. So congratulations to all of them. Very proud and happy to be part of this.
Very good. My congratulations as well to each of them. Job well done. Okay, we're down to section 3, approval of the minutes and the agenda.
So moved.
Have a motion
Second.
and second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Board reports. I believe we had an Indiana County Technology Center meeting since the our last board meeting. One of the big issues there is that they are planning some renovation work. I guess it's been about 20 years since they had the last renovation, and some of the HVAC roof and some of those items are reaching the end of their life expectancy. There'll be more on that later. I actually have a meeting with them, I believe it's tomorrow. Yes. Okay. Aaron, Sue, what's going on over there?
We meet tomorrow night, so I don't.
Tomorrow night as well. Tammy, I know you had
We had a very productive meeting, very quick productive meeting last week. And allow me to pull my notes. We discussed the Cyber School informational campaign where we want to get out the information about how much cyber school is actually impacting our district and the state. And we've got some beautiful literature that we want to just be able to hand out to people to let them know just how much it's costing. And yes, there are good cyber schools, but there are also really stinky ones. We also talked about the Education Advocacy Day. And I know Rob was looking forward to going and apparently had fun and learned a lot. And we also talked about the Excellence in Education Award and the ribbon cutting at the Penn SSI. Would you tell us more about that?
Yeah, that's the School Safety Institute. The Pennsylvania School Board Association has put together some funding, and they invited Mike and I out to the ribbon cutting. It's a totally interactive, immersive experience that is designed to train school administrators, SROs, security guards, in how to de-escalate and then eliminate, if unnecessary, a threat to student safety. So we actually got a invitation to take a team down this summer. So we're going to bring that back to you to take a team down. I have a call with them. I missed their call today. We're at Advocacy Day to set that up, but we'd like to talked about taking the security guards that we just hired down and the administrative team down to just work through some of those situations. It seems very, very, like a high quality experience. And we're honored to be, some of the first people invited to attend. So
I think that, and I believe that's going to be an excellent experience and learning of everything. Off the agenda, we also discussed a few other ideas. One was YouTube, getting the videos of the meetings and the committees separated into playlists so somebody could go to YouTube and click on the academic committee and get all of those videos, or just the board meetings and have just those videos, and as well having timestamps along the way so that people know, oh, we talked about the academic committee at 15 minutes through in or whatnot. So people can find what they're looking for a little bit easier and a little bit more transparency. So that's it.
Okay. Thanks, Tammy. Tom, academic and extracurricular.
I haven't had a meeting. Looks like our next one is in June,
yes, sir, June 5th.
June 5th. Please come. I'm sure you'll have something exciting to talk about.
We have a packed agenda, as you can imagine, sir. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think we got waylaid by one of the other committees and got moved out of June, so off we go. So moving on to my motions. So we have 8 motions. Any objection to taking this consent? Okay, I move that 5.2, 5.3, 5.4, 5.5, 5.6, 5.7, 5.8, and 5.9 be approved as written.
Second.
Moved in second, 5.2 through 5.9. Questions, comments, or discussion on any of those motions?
I believe most of these were discussed in previous committees. The 5.6, the $57,000 is up from $30-some thousand for a more involved system.
Correct, so we used to use a program called On Hand Schools that cost us almost $30,000, and then they would charge us for additional training and support. We moved to Linkit Benchmark 2 years ago. Linkit is an up-and-coming company who, focus on customer service. We're very, very happy with their services and their product. We use their benchmarking tests, grades 6 through 12, and we'd like to expand that maybe all the way down to grade 3 next year, and that's all inclusive. Their customer service is second to none. This is something that is really become ingrained in what we do. So we definitely recommend this for approval. And we're going to use Esser's money to pay for it.
Any other questions, comments, or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion's carried. Cinda, your turn.
We have not met since the last board meeting. Our next policy and personnel meeting will be June 12th. And tonight I have 14 motions. I would like to do them all as consent. I will go over very quickly without listing multiple names on some of these, with what each is about. So 6.2 is the first read of a board policy, conduct of individual board members. 6.3 is an agreement with Aaron for their guest teacher consortium that we already take part in. 6.4 is for our school physician, Dr. Christina Leupold. That's a renewal also. 6.5, school dentist, Indiana County Dental Society. That's another renewal. We've got 2 leave of absence requests that we're going to approve tonight. And then the hiring portion, we've got a long-term substitute for secondary math. That's Michaela Dokos. We've got 3 support personnel positions, Matthew Boring as a food service truck driver, Savannah Fields as a custodian, and Carissa Spencer as a paraeducator. We've got professional personnel. We've got Faith Buggy to be employed as an art teacher, Casey Williams to be employed as a music teacher, Amanda Hilliard to be employed as a learning support teacher, Mary Sabatini to be employed as a senior high English teacher, Bradley Adams to be employed as a junior high science teacher, Lisa Adams to be employed as a junior high science teacher. And then we go new positions. Magdalena Cassidy to be approved as a junior high ELA teacher, and Matthew Reed to be employed as a junior high math teacher. The next hirings are the summer camp teacher positions, and there are many of those.
Quite a few.
Yeah, multiple, and the list will be provided for the press. These are a lot of the same teachers that have done summer camp the last few years, so it's repeated the names. 6.2 is summer learning camp tutors. Again, it's a very big, long list, like 16 people that will be working in tutoring positions at summer camp. 6.13 is summer learning camp support staff, so paraeducators, teachers aid, and LPNs for the summer learning camp. And 6.14 are the summer school instructors. So we've got a coordinator, a math teacher for summer school, a science teacher, 2 health and phys ed teachers, 2 social studies teachers, an English teacher, computer applications course teacher, and career and work readiness teacher.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay. Everybody's good with taking them as a consent then? Okay, questions, comments, or discussion on 6.2 through 6.14? Rob, anything you'd like to add, particularly about the summer school and some of the things and how that's going to help the students
Yeah, I'd like to thank the teachers. We had more teachers in-house sign up for summer camp this year than before, which is tremendous because they add a lot of value to that summer camp program. And again, they're going to provide intensive readings interventions for those students who need it, and then incredible enrichment opportunities for those who are above level. So it should be a quality learning experience for all, and I thank them for the work they do. They spend a lot of time and a lot of hours over the winter months, and then to step up and use and work through the summer to help kids is commendable. I also like to say we're excited about this crop of new hires. It's a very talented group, and we're excited to move forward.
Okay, thank you. Any other, I'm sorry, go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, I'd like to say that the candidates that were presented to the board, outstanding. Not only the first choice, but the second, third, and fourth choice.
Yes, sir.
Quite impressive. I'm very pleased with the quality of candidates that we have applying to this district.
I wish we could hire more.
Yes, Cindy.
I think we do need to say also that all of the teacher hires, except 2, were replacements for retirements or resignations. So it's not that we've hired that many new teachers. And the 2 new teachers that we did hire are so that we can implement and support and enhance the MTSS multi-tier system of support at the junior high, which we've done it in the elementary school. Now we're moving it up to the junior high to have some more academic and behavioral support for those students.
That's exactly right. Yes, ma'am. They're going to provide supports for 6th, 7th, 8th graders in the English and math, ELA math, and hopefully, turn some of those trends in our data around.
Okay, any other questions, comments, or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion's carried. Carrie, buildings and grounds.
Okay, we did have a committee meeting on May 15th. First topic was the Eisenhower renovation project. There was A through G topics under it. There is a motion out of that on tonight's agenda for the asbestos abatement at the Eisenhower building. Then we talked about the proposed 23-24 capital reserve budget. We made some minor changes to that draft. We then went on to the East Pike renovation project. We got a short update, and then we also reviewed 2 change orders dealing with that project in the old office location. The architect also asked for that we approve a soil burying test be conducted there because of foundation that they have to build. And those 2 topics are on the agenda tonight, also the change order and the soil bearing test. Then we got a discussion for the senior high music room renovation proposal. We talked about some new East Pike playground equipment. And then we talked about an internet right-of-way through Ben Franklin property for the new ICCAP building or location. And we also discussed, again, the East Pike exterior door replacement. And then we had a little bit of discussion about the proposed 23-24 budget.
Okay,
So I'd like to, since we did talk about 7.3, 7.4, 7.5 at committee, we did not, I don't think, talk about 7.6, but that's dealing with the administration roof replacement. But I'd like to take those as consent items.
7.3 through 7.6 or 7.3 through?
7.3 through 7.6.
Okay.
And then we can, okay. And then Jared, I'll ask if you'd give us a short explanation of what 7.6 is.
Now?
Yeah.
Second.
Ron second.
Sorry.
Ron second. He's ahead of you.
That was quick. The number 7.6 is probably a year and a half ago, back in November, the board approved moving forward with the complete roof replacement of both East Pike Elementary and the admin. The admin was delayed until this summer, so what Doralast just sent us was updated pricing to get this roof replaced in conjunction with rooftop units, probably late June, early July. Will be
This
replaced.
is additional cost though.
This is additional cost of what was approved.
Due to material probably
Yes.
increases and some labor.
Yep, it's a change order from what was originally approved back in November.
And that door last is a state approved.
Yes, it's off a state
Contract, so-
contract. It's just a change order to what had been approved back in, I think it was November of 2021.
So a year and a half ago.
Yes.
Prices have gone up a little bit.
Shocking.
But as far as the schedule, it's all on board to be done in conjunction. The contractors are working well together to get it done all at one time.
All should be done by fall for school to start.
It should be done before kids come back.
Okay, questions, comments, or discussion on 7.3 through 7.6? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion's carried. Julia, for the big night.
Yeah, thank you. This is a big night for the Audit and Finance Committee. We did have a meeting tonight, very productive. We got a little bit of good news from the tax assessment office. We expect to collect about $22,000 more in taxes. It brought us just below $2 million? Breaking. Just below
The
that
assessed
number?
value went up just under $2 million, which gave us the additional revenue.
So we're good, yeah. Well, that's good news.
Yep.
It's a little bit of positive news. For a while now, we've been looking at various budget projections. And Jared, I'm gonna ask you to give us just a basic update on, just briefly tell us where you see us in the projection for this year going into next, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Attached to our Audit and Finance agenda tonight was a budget projection, which has expenditures at just over $64 million. That is factoring in significant increases in our healthcare. PSERS rate actually for the upcoming year has gone down, which was good news, but is expected to, it's a slight dip one year, but expected to continue to rise the next couple of years, plateauing at around 40% of salary. So,
And that's the money we pay to the state for our share of the
Yes.
retirement.
yes, we did see just under an 8% increase in healthcare. That has been certified as well through our IU consortium. And then all the current contracts, salary contracts with our employees are also factored into that as well. So the one thing that the board is looking to approve tonight, or not to approve, but to post, is our tentative budget. That will be advertised to the public prior to formal board approval on June 26th. At which point all final tax rates will be set at that point, and everything will be issued to the PD after final approval on June 26th.
Okay, very good. And we don't have a state budget yet.
No
And we
state
don't quite
budget
know
yet.
when we'll get a state budget.
Hopefully I will come back after a meeting next week with a little bit more information as to what's happening in Harrisburg, but it's kind of been quiet as far as the state budget goes.
I think as Mr. Harley pointed out, and a couple people have pointed out that, it's hard to do our budgets when we don't quite know what we're gonna get from the state, so. But we've been in that situation before. So we went around the room and talked about this deficit that we're showing and how concerned we are about it, various opinions. We said the last time we met that we will be discussing a tax rate. We can't guarantee that there will be no tax increase, although we budgeted a 0% tax increase. But we had some differing opinions tonight. We had some people that wanted to raise to the full index, and then we had some, like myself, that were at about 1.50. The reason being what Terry Kerr said is that prices are going up. That's been something that we've had to face. We've also been, it's been noted tonight, it's of great concern to me personally, and I think every other member of this board, that we have seen these cyber school costs escalate in the past 4 or 5 years. When I say escalate, I'm talking about a curve that looks about like this relative to what, pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. We've done a lot to try to keep students in our own programs. It's not about school choice, it's about the cyber programs. And we had been paying somewhere in the neighborhood of $800,000 or $900,000. This year, we're expecting to pay $1.6 million. I call that an escalating cost. We've also had safety and security costs that have gone up each year that we've had to face since before the pandemic. And we haven't, we've had federal monies to help us, but those will be, won't be recurring gifts, won't be recurring grants to the district. So we've got to sort of face where we are relative to inflation like every other family does. So those two costs have caused the administration to tell us that they're going to look over the whole budget. They're going to do so in a timely manner by no later than Christmas. That would be the latest, I think, to tell us where we might see some proposed budget cuts relative to our priorities. And I don't like the word cuts, but I do think we're going to have to see some reductions in spending. In addition to that, I don't think it hurts after 5 or 6 years of no tax increases to put a motion on the table tonight. And we'll do so, but I'd first like to have, is there anything else, Jared, I've forgotten?
No.
Okay, I'd first like to talk about 8.2, approval of bills as consent items, 8.4, appointment of treasurer for Jared, 8.5, no change there, designation of banking depositories, and 8.6, Allegheny IU joint purchasing program.
Second.
So it's been moved in second on 8.2, 8.4, 5, and 6. Questions, comments, or discussion on those 4 motions? Okay, Jared, do you want to talk just brief explanation of what 8.6 and what the IU purchasing program is?
Yes, sir. We participate in that for the purchase of diesel for our transportation buses, as well as natural gas consortium for just the commodity side of natural gas to heat our buildings.
Okay. Further questions, comments, or discussion on those 4? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion's carried.
Okay, I'd like to move on 8.3, the 2023-24 tentative budget adoption. Tentative is the key word. We don't have a final vote until the end of June. So this is tentative. We're floating something. The vote on the millage rate for 2023-24 is scheduled with the final budget adoption at the June 26, 2023 school board meeting. The millage rate for the tentative budget that has expenditures exceeding revenue by $4,072,408. For the media, 4,072,408 is a 2% increase. That the board adopts a tentative budget for the school year ending June 30th, 2024 in the amount of $64,060,839 as presented. That it be made available for inspection prior to the final adoption at the regular meeting to be held again on June 26, 2023, and that the necessary advertisement concerning adoption of the budget be authorized.
Do I have a second? We have a second from Sue. Okay, questions, comments, or discussion on our,
I would like to say that this $4 million budget deficit, we certainly expect that to go down. I don't want to alarm the public with that. I think that we're going to come in a lot less than that for various reasons.
understood, there's a little more work to be done in the last 30 days.
Yeah, it's a big deal, 30 days.
Anybody else?
I'd just like to say I'm new on the board. I've only been on here and I'll be on 15 months, but this board has done a great job of not raising the taxes for over the last 5 years. And at some point, I think the board just has to do that. We're starting to fall behind, but it's not anything to do with the board or administration. It's just what's going on in this country right now. You're right. Security's been a huge increase for us this year. Transportation, everything's increased. Computers increase now. You have to keep buying the updates. It's just back to life right now. So if we don't do the increase right now, and it's very minimal, it's not a lot, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. And some board sitting here is going to have to make a huge increase. So I think it's the right time and the right thing to do right now. That's all I want to say.
Okay, thanks, Ron. Anybody else? Yes, Jim.
I think I share a different point of view because what's going on in the world is my wife being contacted to drop off toilet paper and tampons to people that can't afford it. we're using other people's money and we should be responsible for that. I don't support any tax increase, and I won't be voting for this tonight because of that reason.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Anybody else? Cinda?
That being said, yes, those are all things that are realistically happening in our community. But by the same token, this board 7-2 voted for a very large teacher raise. This board has been saddled with a building that burned down, and we're required to get that back up and running. This board has all of the same utility increases and commodity increases, supply increases that everybody else is experiencing. At the same time, we've had $1 million a year loss in tax revenue. That's $1 million that we just don't have, but the prices have gone up. If we had done a 1% increase in taxes every year, it would be less painful. It would look less painful than doing, and I'm the person who wants the 5.2% tax increase. People out there are going to be falling off their chairs to hear me say that. But it's something that we need to do. If we did that, it would get us $1.4 million. And it would cost the taxpayers an average of $2.65 a week, which other prices, other expenses for those people have gone up a lot more than $2.65 a week. And what we're trying to do here is educate the kids and put them in decent buildings and have a good staff to do it. So I will be voting no.
Thanks, Cinda. Anybody else? Tom?
Yeah, I'll be supporting it reluctantly. I believe that the community and the state owes the schools across the state security. I don't know when it became our responsibility to provide the community security, and the more rural districts have even a larger problem about actually providing true security, not symbolic security, but actual security. And for the state not to step up and take this responsibility on is unconscionable. We have done that. We're spending currently over $500,000 on just security, not counting the physical improvements that we've made in security over the years and that we intend to continue making. So I don't think we have any choice. This is also coupled with over $750,000 in additional cyber costs, which we can't control. We can't take 10% of that cost out. That number it's a blank check that's sent. It's a blank bill that's sent to us by the state to fund the cyber programs and all their problems. So those two things combined, I don't think we have any choice. I agree with Cinda in that we are way behind right now, and a lot of that is because the ESSER program ending. Our problems with our children haven't stopped. We have to recover academically. We have to. We're providing mental health to 2,800 kids right now. We have more mental health people in this district. When I started on this board, we had one part-time person and 5 school counselors. Now we have 5 school counselors and a bevy of mental health people. Those all come at cost, and if we're expected to provide mental health, and it's going to cost us more money. And so I'm going to support this motion. Hope that we don't have to do anything more.
I don't agree, Tom, that we're way behind. I just don't agree that we have faced some challenges, but I believe with the administration's plan, and with our usual numbers the way they usually come out, because we're still getting ESSER funding, that we can carry a $2 million deficit. That I don't think is a problem. It's a little bit higher, but I don't think we're in any kind of serious problem. It's just that this is a matter of prudence at this point. And I want to repeat that these I don't know that the average taxpayer across the Commonwealth knows that the local school districts pay the cyber tuition. It's not free. And these escalating costs, I don't think we have a federal they get federal money. Mr. Heinrich pointed that out. I don't think that it's a federal problem. I think it's right in our state Senate and our state legislature. And I think that they had better get serious, because we've got, how many students do we have participating in cyber school right now? It's about 80, isn't it?
Between 80 and 90
Yeah.
typically.
So it's not a small number for us. And
Julie, that number hasn't gone up, which is the most frustrating thing. It was 70 or 80 kids 5 years ago.
Right.
Okay, yet our costs have more than doubled on that particular line item.
And we've been very careful about keeping costs at the very least even, and that we've always ran a very good fund balance. So I'm not really worried about that going forward. I don't think that we're in a crisis situation whatsoever, but I think we need to be prudent at this point with the ESSER money. Walter, you haven't said anything. Would you like to make a comment?
Wanted to make sure that all the other board members had a chance before I said anything. So when I look at this situation, the concern for me this year is the difference in the projected budget deficit and what we normally have planned for in the past. Let me clarify. Through his very good work, Jared Krona, our business manager, we've seen budget deficits at this point in time in previous years in the range of $1.5 million to a little over $2 million. And because of his good work in his planning, we've always seemed to overcome those, typically overestimating the costs and underestimating the revenues is just good budget practice. The problem is that there's an additional $2 million deficit this year that has us concerned, and whether or not we can overcome that and how that will happen. I take a slightly different look at it, though. When I look at the overall decline in revenue due to property taxes, and I believe this is over about a 5-year period, the district is down about $1 million. It's about $230,000 decreased from last year, but the cumulative over the last several years is $1 million in decreased revenue. This has occurred because of a number of economic factors within the community, including the decline in IUP's population and the private student housing. It's also occurred because of the malls, that people are buying things differently now. They'll buy on Amazon instead of go to the local malls. And the values of all those properties have fallen to the point where it's affected our revenues by $1 million a year at this point. The second thing, and it was mentioned, Tom mentioned about $500,000 in safety. I certainly agree with Tom. Is it really our job as a school district? Is it part of our education plan to actually have to provide the necessary security guards and safety concerns? Yes, there are students and we have to take care of that, but ultimately that really should be the responsibility of the state, or in this case, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. That's $500,000 that we didn't control either. We didn't control the $1 million loss in revenue. Cyber school was mentioned. I kind of looked at some of the data here. To Julia's point, in the 2019-2020 school year, we paid $1 million in cyber charges. In the 2021, it was somewhere between 1.1 and 1.2. This year, it is 1.6. That's an additional $500,000 to $600,000 of uncontrolled expenses that has occurred in the last 3 to 4 years. When I add those all up, $1 million loss in revenue and roughly $1 million or $1.1 million in expenses, that comes out to about $2 to $2.1 million. Remember when I said that the issue here is not so much the deficit, but the difference in the deficit that we normally plan for in budget and the deficit that we're looking at this year. Those numbers happen to be exactly the same, about $2 million. Okay? Is it fair? Is it right that we have to raise the taxes to the property taxes to the taxpayers of this? No, it isn't. To Julia's point, does it take more state legislative action, maybe action on the part of the governor to kind of bring these things under control? Do something about the charter cyber, do something about the security. Okay, if we had that sort of support from the state, which I believe is rightfully where it belongs, we wouldn't be having this $2 million deficit. We wouldn't be raising the taxes, and we wouldn't be going back to the local taxpayers to ask them to help fund part of this bill. I would rather see a 1.5 1.75, but if 2 points is what we need to do to get it done, I'll vote for it for this meeting. What I want the people to think about is that we want to present tonight what I believe, although we're not legally required to stick to this when we approve the final budget, typically boards, whatever they approve for the tentative budget, typically becomes a maximum tax increase that is approved then at the final budget. Ron, am I wrong in that?
You're correct, and that's the practice. There is no legal requirement. You can move it up or down based on what you finalize in June.
Correct. So I would anticipate that the 2% proposal that is on the table will be probably, and I want to emphasize the word probably, the maximum of what we will be looking at when we finally approve the budget. It also could be, depending on where the state comes in, if their budget information is in and or some additional work that I mentioned over the next 30 days, there's a possibility that it might even be less than that. But again, possibly nothing in stone.
Well, the 2% was sort of an amalgam. I prefer 1.50, but the consensus of the committee was that we have one at 0, we have the other one at the full index. So, we have different numbers. It was all on the YouTube for the finance committee, so people can listen to that discussion. It was a constructive discussion. But I agree. A lot can happen in 30 days. That's a long time in this budget game. So I think I would ask for a voice vote as well.
Roll call. Thank you, Julia.
Just
Ron.
You might have touched on this, Julia, but at 2%, it's $48.84 a
I
year.
did not.
So that's less than $1 a week.
Yeah.
Is what it would come out to. It's just a shade less than
Well,
$1.
$4.07 a month.
The index reflects the loss in assessed value in the county. It makes us wonder if we should have had the reassessment in the first place. That's a real issue when we go back and visit it. So,
But
in
it
order
is, it's
to raise,
$48.84
Yeah.
a year. It's
And then-
not.
in order, just so the public knows, in order to raise almost $1.5 million, you have to go to the full index of 5.20. So, I mean, this index has changed around a great deal since the pandemic. So at any rate, I would like not a voice vote, but a roll call vote, please.
Before we do that, are there any other questions, comments, or discussion on the tentative budget? Cinda, you're making faces, so I want to make sure you have the opportunity.
People were panicking about hearing that 5% and break it down into what it is per week. What Ron said is basically $1.02 a week for the 2%. For the 5% to get us $1.46 million is $2.65 a week. I don't
Okay.
I don't think we need it.
Okay, other comments, questions, or discussion? Roll call, Jared, if you would, please.
Mr. Earhart,
Yes.
Tammy Blank,
Yes.
Cinda Brode,
No.
Julia Tamarki Kukrow,
Yes.
Mr. Harley,
Yes.
Mr. Carr,
No.
Dr. Rig,
Yes.
Dr. Schaefer,
No.
Mr. Stroh.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-3.
Okay, that was a tough decision, folks. I want to thank you for your time, trouble, and efforts in making that happen. Okay, we're down to the closing. No discussion. Are there any public comments on agenda items? Nothing heard. We had some enclosures this evening. We had an executive session. Ron, do you want to brief everybody on what we covered in our executive?
Sure, Mr. President. Multiple hires that were found on the agenda that we approved tonight. The Eisenhower litigation claim, the ongoing claim, and the Act 93 contract renewal discussions were all part of executive session.
Okay, thank you. Before I talk about the next board meetings, again, I want to reiterate that graduation is not this Friday night, but next Friday night, June 2nd. Our next regular board meeting will be June the 12th at 7 p.m. for general purposes. On June the 5th, we have academic and extracurricular. And on June the 12th, we have policy and personnel, both at 5:30. We have a motion to.
Walter, one
I'm
more.
sorry.
We forgot to mention that the outdoor classroom grand opening will be this Thursday at 10 o'clock.
Yes, sir. I apologize.
And this Thursday night's ICTC, our students from ICTC
Or
will graduate
graduating tonight or Thursday
this
night.
Thursday night.
At the junior high school.
Okay, so that's an event maybe the press wants to cover, the Ben Franklin outdoor classroom, as well as the ICTC. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay, we stand adjourned.
She has no idea.